a handsome co-host, David Gawa.
Good
So
evening.
David,
Good evening, Doctor.
so you have to give some intro, or you are going to introduce the party, or should I?
I think it's still your show.
Okay.
Only if you fall over will I take over.
I think I'll soon be going down. So we have Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards just sitting next to David, and we don't have to remind anyone of the 1984 and the 86 series, right? No, we don't have to remind. So you're right. And of course, we have the former Pakistan living captain, Sana Mir, and the world's fastest bowler ever, Shoaib Akhtar, sitting next to her. On my left, it's Aqib Javed, the former Pakistan fast bowler, followed by the former Pakistan captain, Rashid Latif, and of course, the former Pakistan ace all-rounder, Azhar Mahmood, and still very young, one of the finest T20 international bowlers, Umar Gul. Welcome, lady, and all the gentlemen.
Thank you.
So, let's start with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
135, 134. New Zealand, they scored 134. And Pakistan, they made a mess of it, but I think the pitch was like very slow, low, difficult.
Well, the question is?
Question is that do you think that Pakistan made a mess of it?
Well, let's talk about the Kiwis first, right?
Yeah.
Did they make a mess out of it? No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that, the Pakistan was going to make a comeback with the spinners, right?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't we introduce the spinners early on? We did not need to use Hassan Ali. We should have kept him for the reverse swing. It was reversing, right? It was going along with the shine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, sir, did you see the game?
No, so I saw the match, but I'm asking you because there are
You
lots
lost
of
today.
people, so I just can't
You lost today.
comment back. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I didn't think that, Hassan Ali should be brought in early on. I think that was Hafiz's job and Shadab's job. When the New Zealand were looking to take singles, the Pakistan contained them. Pakistan put pressure on them in terms of, keeping them in pressure in terms of not giving them a freebies. I think that we all knew that right from the word go that the New Zealanders going to struggle against spinners, and we exactly did that. They were 42 in a power play, right? And then all of a sudden that they were crunched down by the spinners of Pakistani bowlers. And then I think you must give credit. No, they must give credit to Lahore Qalandars. And this is the main culprit. This guy sitting right in the middle.
Haris Rauf.
No, Shaheen Shah Afridi too.
Shaheen Shah Afridi too, yeah.
This was the guy that was brought by Aqib Javed and Lahore Qalandar and PDB program, Players Development Program.
Shaheen had played for Pakistan.
I'm talking about Haris Rauf.
Yeah, Haris. Shaheen had played for Pakistan.
Sir,
in 90.
somebody came to the work, right?
Yeah, okay.
So thank you.
You're being a little rude, so I don't want to say it.
No,
If you're being over smart, then you can go. I'm saying it on air. So let's. Okay, Sana. So would you mind telling me that Pakistan?
No. Excuse me.
We take a break. We'll be right back. Game on है. देख रहे हैं गेम ऑन है और ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले शोएब अख्तर कुछ कह रहे थे. So Shoaib, you wanted to complete your thing. So पाकिस्तान के स्पिनर्स की आप बात कर रहे थे कि they really dominated today.
Yeah. I was building a case not against you, about Haris Rauf.
Okay.
That was a find of Lahore Qalandar.
Yeah, of course.
It was not find of under 19.
No, that was Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got that clear.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Just have a big smile.
Well,
Have a big smile.
You move
Just say whatever happened. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You
It's
just
okay?
continue.
All right. So, दूसरी चीज ये है कि let's move forward here. You just give an answer to it.
Okay, David, how do you see?
एक मिनट में जो शोएब बताना चाह रहे थे उसको मैं पहले ये बहुत बड़ा कैंप लगा था जहाँ पे हारिस आए थे, ठीक है ना. उसमें टीसीबी का एक रूल था, उसको बाईपास किया था, बल्कि अप्रूव कराया था फ्रॉम पीसीबी पीएसएल में, क्योंकि उसमें 23 साल से ऊपर का प्लेयर नहीं खेल सकता था. कौन सी कैटेगरी?
इमर्जिंग
नहीं खेल सकता. तो ये रूल सबने पास किया और वहाँ से ये आया और एक बड़ी प्रोडक्ट बनी है पाकिस्तान की. क्रेडिट जाता है, नो डाउट उसमें लाता है.
No, of course. वो तो हारिस तो शायद ऑस्ट्रेलिया भी भेजा गया था ना prior to playing for Pakistan. Yeah, so that was it. So as a fast bowler, Haris Rauf was being criticized a bit. He was expensive, though he was very good in the death overs. Do you think in this World Cup he has changed it around?
Only for you.
He has changed it around?
All right. What happened is, I think they underestimated Haris Rauf's pace and his will to take wickets, right? So what I think is that, the last part, the last 10th overs of the captaincy of Babar was very smart. I think he used his bowler very carefully, but Haris is very quick. He knows what he's doing. At the same time, his deliveries with the slower bouncers, with the slower one, he has tons of variety, and he's very passionate to take wickets. I really think that Pakistan, where they made the mess, I think not bringing Hafiz in early on. Secondly, I really think that कि मुझे ये लगा कि Babar captaincy was very average today, because when it comes to a batting,
Okay.
when it comes to a batting, but Haris Rauf is a fine Shaheen Afridi was trying to repeat the same performances. Look, this is not the pitch to repeat the same performances. It was the pitch which was containing the runs. It's building up the pressure in terms of stopping the runs and let them make the mistakes, and that's what exactly they did, right? But this was the Haris who turned it all around because of he got Guptill out, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the game's turned around, and eventually when we talk about the batting, I think the Pakistan spinning attack was, they had the varieties. They have, I really wanted to see Shoaib Malik today. Hafiz was very, very cunning when it comes to containing, taking wickets. I think the spin bowling attack was Pakistan who actually brought back Pakistan into the game.
So wait, you think that Kane Williamson lost his plot somewhere in this match, or he was outdone by the Pakistan spinners when New Zealand batted?
I don't think he was outdone. I think when we spoke earlier this morning, Javid did hit the point, the things that you can expect when you play a charger. And 130, 35 would be the so-called max score at that particular ground in itself. And what I believe is that when Babar put New Zealand in, they felt that it was a great opportunity for them to restrict New Zealand to that particular total. And in the end, it looked like it was going to be problematic for Pakistan getting to the total. But at the end of the day, the platform was already set for a Pakistan win. The only way they were going to lose that match is if they lost their minds in a very big way. But when you look at the whole tournament in itself and just the way in which these guys would have accomplished winning, 2 out of 2,
Yeah, and
perfect record so far.
yeah, and do softer matches against Scotland maybe, and
I never
Namibia.
looked at it that way.
Okay.
I've always believed you got to treat everyone as serious as you can, because
Anything can happen.
if you become a little bit too complacent, well, there are times that you can be hurt.
Okay, so David, another question regarding Pakistan. They were batting, and we saw that as far as Kane Williamson was concerned, he was quite smart, employing his spinners, and he took out Sodi when he thought that he had taken a wicket of Fakhar Zaman, and then we saw that the field was set for Mohammad Hafiz, and he fell into that trap. So how will you rate that? It's Asif Ali probably turned it around, whacking.
Well, you always, when you've got a low scoring game, two things. When you see a score of 134, wherever you are, Sharjah included, and it was said at half time, you've done a pretty good job. You fancy your chances chasing that. Something's got to go pretty badly wrong if you don't make those runs. So even if you lose a few wickets, as they did, and there was a sort of frisson of pressure in the middle there, then you've still got the leeway at the end. You have a couple of shots, and we've seen it in both games today. A couple of big shots, and you're away. You're up there. The run rate is suddenly not 10, it's 8, it's 7, it's 5, and you're there with, what was it, an over and a half to spare.
Yeah.
So actually in the end it was comfortable. Asif Ali made sure with a couple of good shots at the right time that it was not going down to the absolute wire. And one of the good things, look at one of the bright things, is at least when you have a 10 wicket win, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 don't know if they're in form or not because they haven't had a bat. Now they've had a look, they now know a little bit more about the competition, they now know more about themselves, they know they can win, and they know they've got a little bit in reserve. So if they have to make 160 next time, they know they can possibly do that. So I think actually You take all the good points out, and Pakistan have done the great thing of winning 2 games against the strongest sides in their group. They are beautifully set, and they should be very proud and very happy.
So you
about
think that, Sana, it was a good toss to win for Babar, and he did the right thing, putting in New Zealand first?
Yeah, I think the result says it all, and I do think that Pakistan has done really well. The fast bowlers taking 5 wickets, economy has been really good. Shaheen Shah 2 overs up front with the new ball were exceptionally well, and then very well, and I would have to disagree a little bit. I think Babar Azam's captaincy was quite good. In patches, yes, he could have done better, but otherwise bringing in Hafiz when Nation was there, we saw good captaincy from both sides. Williamson was really good too, so that's why 135 score was not easy for either team. So we saw a good match and good result for Pakistan.
All right. Ji, Aake bhai. So one, your prodigy, Haris Rauf, doing the trick. Even he bowled magnificently against India. और आज भी मतलब obviously he was exceptional. 4.5 विकेटें थी, एक वो आगे गिर गया.
ज़बरदस्त एक्साइटिंग बॉलर्स हैं शहीन शाह, हारिस रऊफ, और वो जिस फॉर्म में है, जिस कॉन्फिडेंस में है, वो एक पॉजिटिव है पाकिस्तान के लिए.
तो ये 6 महीने पहले क्यों नहीं पॉजिटिव हो रहा था? ये क्या मैनेजमेंट का इम्पैक्ट था? आज ऐसे क्यों लग रहा है कि ये लिबरेटेड थे हमारे जो स्पेशली हारिस रऊफ? वो ऐसे लग रहा था पहले लॉस्ट सोल होता था, हाउ ही वाज बीइंग यूज्ड, कभी नया गेम करा रहे हैं.
देखिए मेरी उससे थोड़ी सी बात भी हुई थी. जब ये टूर्स पे होता मैं कभी फ़ोन नहीं करता क्योंकि आई डोंट नो, जो भी हो एक बंदा उनको डील करे. बट एक चीज़ है कि थोड़ा जो इसको जो हमने इसमें क्या देखा था जब इसको हमने पिक किया और कहा कि ही इज़ गॉट अ टैलेंट, पेस थी. टेप बॉल बॉलर्स जो होते हैं उनकी फोर्स आगे जाती है, तो ये डेथ बॉलर हमने रेडी किया. फिर प्लेड PSL एंड देन बिग बैश, और उसको हमने ये कहा था कि तुमने 2-3 साल इसी रोल में रहो, अपना नाम बनाओ, कॉन्फिडेंस आए जब, फिर आप आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कोई नया बॉल कभी कर लिया, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता डेवलप हो जाता है. और दुनिया के जितने मोस्ट वैल्यूएबल बॉलर्स हैं वो होते ही डेथ बॉलर्स हैं. एक नया बॉल का बॉलर अगर आपके पास शहीन जैसा हो और एक डेथ में हारिस जैसा बॉलर हो तो आपकी बॉलिंग जो है वो बहुत तगड़ी हो जाती है. सो आई थिंक इसी तरह से अगर जो हसन है उसका थोड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल नीचे आया, इज़ अ वंडरफुल बॉलर. तो ये 3 पेसर जो है पाकिस्तान के, और जो इमाद शारजा की पिच हो, राइट हैंड बैट्समैन हो, तो उसने तो बेहतर करना ही करना है. तो पाकिस्तानी जो बॉलिंग है, आई थिंक इट्स अ कंप्लीट पैकेज विद हफीज़ एंड शादाब. मलिक भी है, दे हैवंट यूज्ड मलिक येट, तो वो भी 1-2 ओवर कर सकते हैं. और जीतेगा टूर्नामेंट वही जीता है जिसकी बॉलिंग तगड़ी होती है.
ओके जी राशिद भाई.
जी सर.
सो ओवरऑल अगर आप कंपैरिजन करें न्यूजीलैंड वर्सेस पाकिस्तान, न्यूजीलैंड बैटिंग फर्स्ट और शायद
देखिए
15-20 रन शॉट.
गेम नहीं, शॉट नहीं थे, गेम चेंज किया आसिफ अली ने.
ओके
12 बॉल पे 27, गेम वहीं पे चेंज हुआ है, वरना ये गेम लास्ट बॉल तक जा सकता था. आपको पता है शोएब मलिक रना बॉल खेलता है, फिर बीच में एक आध मार लेता है, लेकिन आसिफ अली ने कमाल की बैटिंग की. और बिलीव था कैप्टन को भी और सिलेक्शन को भी कि ये शारजा में करे, क्योंकि इन दोनों टीमों में अगर स्ट्राइक रेट देखते हैं सबसे हाईएस्ट जो है वो आसिफ अली है, 150 प्लस है इसका. क्योंकि आपने PSL भी देखे हैं, ये आउटस्टैंडिंग खेलता है. डिफरेंट पिचेस पे इसको प्रॉब्लम होती हैं काफ़ी प्लेयर्स को. पिंडी में आपने देखा होगा इफ्तिखार स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे, लेकिन जब लाहौर में गया टूर्नामेंट वहाँ पे उन्होंने मारना शुरू कर दिया. तो कुछ प्लेयर ऐसे होते हैं कि कुछ सर्टन जगहों पे खेलते हैं. तो आसिफ अली इस टूर्नामेंट में बहुत कुछ करने वाले हैं, ये आज उन्होंने बताया है कि पाकिस्तान के पास नीचे डेप्थ, यहाँ पे पावर हिटर जहाँ पे चाहिए थे वो यहाँ मौजूद हैं. न्यूजीलैंड की एक थोड़ी सी मिस्टेक हुई है, इनके पास तीसरा जो बॉलर था ना, नीशम था, वो
जिमी नीशम,
उनके साथ में अगर इनके पास एक और स्पिनर होता ना तो गेम काफ़ी हद तक चेंज हो सकता था.
यानी कि टॉड एस्टल आप समझते हैं कि
हाँ, ये पिच ऐसी थी, यहाँ पे हो सकता था या तो नीशम वाला जो पेस है ना वो बड़ी होती है, मिलने होता है, या फॉर्गसन होता तो गेम काफ़ी हद तक चेंज होता है. लेकिन पाकिस्तान की बहुत बड़ी विक्ट्री है, ये इतनी आसान नहीं थी, और यहाँ से अब लग रहा है साफ कि पाकिस्तान सेमीफाइनल के लिए क्वालिफाई कर रहा है.
Yeah. Well, David and Wave, first Aqib just described, because he is the one who mentored Haris Rauf. He picked him up from the oblivion. He was a tennis tape bowler, and he says that he thought that the guy had pace, and because since he was bowling with tape balls, so he thought he could be a very good death bowler. And of course now he is maturing, and he now uses the slow ones and bowls at a scorching pace whenever required. And Rashid thinks that the New Zealand went one spinner short or their weaker link was Jimmy Neesham.
नहीं नो विकेट लिंक नहीं है पेस ज़्यादा होती है क्यों
Okay. And secondly, Lucky Ferguson.
3 में 18 दिया
I think he's
Lucky Ferguson
half
actually
injury.
missed out, and he's out of the tournament
Yeah, he's
now.
gone.
So Adam Milne will be replacing him most likely. They're just waiting for the ICC approval.
And that was my man, Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to wrap him up the other day. He brings it, he brings the pace and he brings all the energy.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough in New Zealand.
And New Zealand is the only team who only announced 15-member squad, only one injury cover. They had no reserves. So it's going to be interesting to see how
And
they
because
are
of
going
their
to.
COVID policies back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite tough even now. Ji Azhar Mahmood. So Haris Rauf, Shaheen Shah Afridi.
आई थिंक हमने आज भी देखा, पिछले मैच में भी देखा. आई थिंक दिस इज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट बॉलिंग अटैक इन वाइट बॉल क्रिकेट. ऑल दीज गाइज, शाहीन शाह अफरीदी, हारिस रऊफ, हसन अली, शदाब एंड इमाम, ऑल द वैरायटी वी हैव, दे आर वंडरफुल. और वो आपको रिजल्ट भी नज़र आया होगा कि 134 पे हमने उनको आउट किया. तो एक्सीलेंट परफॉर्मेंस फ्रॉम दीज गाइज. आई थिंक कि जब वो लोग बैटिंग कर रहे थे तो एक टाइम पे ये हुआ कि हारिस ने आके पहली विकेट ली. उसके बाद जो है मोमेंटम थोड़ा सा न्यूजीलैंड की तरफ जा रहा था. आई थिंक कि रन आउट जो हसन अली ने जो रन आउट किया है केन विलियमसन को, दैट वाज द की मोमेंट ऑफ द गेम के जहाँ से आपकी गेम चेंज हुई है. एंड देन जो हमारे स्पिनर्स थे उन्होंने प्रेशर किया. आई थॉट के बॉलिंग चेंजेस भी अच्छी थी बाबर आजम की तरफ से जिस तरह उन्होंने की. एंड देन बैटिंग में अगर आप देखें तो रिजवान लुक्स रियली गुड अगेन. बाबर मिस आउट हुए आज, लेकिन ये अच्छा था जैसे डेविड ने कहा कि अच्छा है कि आपके बाकी प्लेयरों को भी थोड़ा सा मिडल में टाइम मिला कि अपनी इनिंग्स को बिल्ड करें. और टुवर्ड्स द एंड मलिक वाज रियली गुड. वो रन बॉल खेल रहे थे. एंड देन आसिफ अली शोड इस क्लास के, दैट्स व्हाई ही इज अ मैच विनर. ही कैन हिट लॉन्ग बॉल.
That's why the management was trusting him. अच्छा उमर, एक चीज़ है कि शाहीन शाह अफरीदी के आज के स्टैट्स आए हुए थे. दैट वाज कि अगेंस्ट इंडिया ही हैड 0.97 डिग्रीज जो है वो स्विंग था, 0.96 डिग्रीज जो है वो सीम था. बट आज जो है 0.96 डिग्री स्विंग ज़रूर था, बट सीम वाज रिड्यूस्ड टू हाफ, 0.35 था. So probably this was the reason he was not as impactful in to
आज
start.
बेहतर बैट्समैन थे उसके सामने.
और आज हैं?
डिफेंसिव बात है, डिफेंस भाई बेहतर बैट्समैन थे, लेट खेलते हैं वो.
Okay.
आई थिंक बैट्समैन का भी, और दूसरा ये कि आप पिच के भी कर सकते हैं. सीम आपको वहाँ पे जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा मॉइस्चर या हल्के फुल्के घास हो, स्विंग तो आपका नेचुरल होता है, एयर में होता है. तो मेरे ख्याल से ये दो डिफरेंस. लेकिन ओवरऑल अगर हम बॉलिंग के, मैं बॉलिंग जो हमारी यूनिट बड़ा ज़बरदस्त, सब ने बड़ा ज़बरदस्त. जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ थी कि विकेट को असेस करना और फिर एग्जीक्यूशन उस पर. सारे बॉलर ने बड़ा ज़बरदस्त विकेट को यूज़ किया. जो पेस था, वेरिएशन वगैरह बड़े अच्छे तरीके से यूज़ किया. अगर आप देखें मोरलेस स्पिनर्स ने 9 ओवर किए, 59 रन उसमें दिए. फास्ट बॉलर के 11, 6, 10, तो वही ऑलमोस्ट 6.5 के उससे एवरेज से पेसर और स्पिनर दोनों ने सेम उससे रन दिए. आई थिंक एग्जीक्यूशन बड़ा ज़बरदस्त था. हम इसको 134 में आउट किया उनको. अगर 10-12 रन हमारे मिस फील्ड हो गए, लेकिन ये और भी कम हो सकता है. लेकिन ओवरऑल बड़ा ज़बरदस्त पैकेज था और इन्जॉय किया मैच को.
Shoaib, Martin Guptill, he was picked for T20 internationals. और Martin Guptill जो है वो he played in the Pakistan Super League and he wasn't that successful, probably because of the low and slow pitches out there. So you think that it was wise of them to open with a man who had been tested?
Is that the first time for Mitchell to open a bat?
Yeah, Darryl Mitchell opened the bat for.
The gamble paid off?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, he did well.
So we had high hopes from the Martin Guptill, but I thought that he was right there in the group, but the Haris Rauf pace was a bit too good enough for him to to knock him down. When he got hit on the foot, I thought he was in a lot of pain, and you could see that he was falling back, and the very smart of Haris Rauf was following. He did follow him, and then kept on following him. And luckily, when you get the break like that, the way the Haris did, I think it shows the smartness of the bowler that who understand. And at the same time, there's a lot of things needs to be learned from this guy. They call it tapia. This called tapia means he's a tennis ball player. So he comes out of the tennis ball, cricket. But the way he uses his brain, that is commendable. I think that if Martins get going, And then that was the problem for the Pakistan. But unfortunately for us, that he just could not get off the great start. But I think that he's a force to reckon with. I hope he's feeling fine and his foot gets recovered in time. If not, then it's not good news for India.
Even
the whole India that I've spoken to all day along today says, please, it's the first time that we're praying for Pakistan. That if hope Pakistan wins today, we don't have to get beaten on the next Sunday, then we might get kicked out. It's good to see you smiling, finally.
Yeah. And Asif Ali also survived a serious blow because it just...
No, the thing is, again, you know, you are underestimating your own talent, which is Tim Southee. Once you know there is a pitch that is not easy to leave the ball, they always gonna strike your head. So how many bouncers have you tried today? And how many bouncers that Indian has tried against Babar Azam? Is he a good hooker?
No. He can pull good, but he's not a good hooker.
Does he pull like the pull like...
No.
Thank you very much. Okay, then he's vulnerable.
Yeah, he's
right?
vulnerable.
Then he's vulnerable. The how many times that you're testing the people?
Yeah.
The how many times that you're testing the Babar Azam today that he is so good enough? And the way he's batting today, that he was just standing like the Abdul Razak. I mean, you're a world greatest batsman. You just gotta play like according to what your talent is saying to you. So, but I really think that, you know, the bouncers are the key in this. And Tim Southee hit him one in the stomach. Second, he turned around and hit him on the right on the chin. And he was shaking till the match ended.
Yeah, let's hope that
and he'll remember
didn't
that.
get any concussion.
And I hope that it's fine. I mean, these people are getting hit without the helmet anyways. But anyways, I really reckon,
Who was able to
make sure that you try the
Shoaib?
batsmen. I don't
was able
understand
to
it's a T20 game, but you know, try करें तुम को मारना बहुत जरूरी है.
ठीक है.
नहीं मारोगे, you know, the people are always ready here,
All right.
but nobody's ready here. So
You
just
sound
ride it.
spoken like a true fast bowler.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. And actually, the really good point is the Harry Strauss thing.
Yeah.
He has learnt in the space of these two games,
Yes.
the slower ball at the end of
Yes.
that last game against India, slower,
Yeah.
completely bamboozling the tactics at or the Indian tactics at the end of that innings. Today, following is a really important thing, because obviously someone like Guptill is adept at making space. He goes that way, whatever he sees next. If you follow him, you stop his plan as well. So that's really clever, because you have to make that decision right at the last moment. So as you're delivering, you see the man go, then you have to follow. So that's two really good things he's learned.
So we are taking the break, but before we get to this break, I would like to ask you a generic question that in contemporary cricket, majority of the batsmen, they are not as apt at hooking or playing horizontal bat shots. So do you think that the method has changed or the game has transformed? Because in your time, you had plenty of compulsive hookers and pullers, and they were like mastering that shot.
That's a wrong question. He's playing the same game back in 30 years ago. 40. It's just utterly wrong question, sir. He was ahead of his time. He was playing about 40 years ahead of him.
Thank you for that, my man. No, but to be fair, what I find one of the huge problems that you have, sometimes guys with the helmet on, they're not hookers.
Yeah.
And because of the shield and all the armory that they have, they think they can take anyone on.
Okay.
And sometimes that's when you get hurt.
All right.
I've seen more guys getting hurt with the helmet on than the blokes without.
All right.
And that's sending a message of saying something.
Oh yeah. So the message has been sent to all, and we take a break, and we'll be right back in a few minutes. On hai, David, to start with you, before we continue our discussion on the Pakistan-New Zealand game, loads to talk about it. There was an incident probably that Quinton de Kock was left out of the South African 11 for the match against West Indies, and then the reports emanating mostly on social media that probably he refused to kneel down when they have to show that gesture for the Black Lives Matters. So now we do not have a concrete evidence that whatever transpired, but still, even there was another tweet that, not an official tweet, but that Cricket South Africa may well take a serious action against Quinton de Kock, and his career has been severely jeopardized. How do you take this? Because we have seen cricket has come out of many such evils, like William Lambert was poisoned way back in 1817. There was Alfred Min's controversy, Bodyline, match fixing, ball tampering, illegal bowling actions, apartheid, racism, whites captaining West Indies when they had the superstars, those who were colored. So you think that this is we are again slithering into?
Well, okay. Point one is that we should not be ruled by Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very dangerous place.
That's why I mentioned.
That's a very dangerous place to be. But what I've seen so far, the statement from Cricket South Africa was about they wanted the entire team to conform to taking the knee.
Yeah.
Obviously, that country has a history where you'd expect sympathy with that to be pretty much 100%.
Yeah.
And they've had a change of government in the last 20 years. They've had huge changes in society. But it's a point which I can understand the South African board wanted to make very strongly. Now, what we haven't seen, all we've seen about the story is that Quintin has personal reasons for not playing.
Yeah.
That Cricket South Africa said, okay, you're not playing, and we will be taking action. That's been suggested. But what we haven't seen yet is any statement from Quintin de Kock as to why he has an issue with taking the knee.
Yeah.
If he has I mean, I don't know what a good reason would be, to be honest, because team spirit says you conform to the team ethic. If you have any reservations, I mean, for instance, Viv and I have talked about this a bit already. If you have any reservations on the lines of all lives matter, that's a perfectly reasonable point to make.
Yeah.
But we understand also why the Black Lives Matter campaign is so very strong and so very valid. But as a team thing, I think you should just hang on to your own principles for a moment for the team, as you do with so many other things for a team. And then if you have a personal problem with that, you can discuss it with your teammates, you can discuss it with Cricket South Africa. But this has become probably a bigger story than it needed to be if both parties had got it right at the start. But I mean, when he makes a statement, I'll be fascinated to hear, or if he makes a statement, I'll be fascinated to hear what he has to say in his own defence.
All
And
right.
until then, we have to give him, I think, just that little bit of leeway,
All right.
because we just don't know. We don't know what
exactly,
his point is.
Exactly. So wait, because probably Shoaib was also referring to that you were offered to tour South Africa. It was like the Rebel tour, and you again just discounted that, and you said that you will stand up with pride for your own generation. So now, how do you see this in case, like David has elaborated, and obviously based on evidence what we have? So how do you see this?
Well, we do not know the full story, but gathering from what would have caused the whole controversy in him not playing does suggest that something is wrong. And if he's going to take such decisions, Clinton de Kock, we should know exactly the reason.
Right.
We should definitely know. Everyone now is basically guessing. Everyone has their own opinion on exactly why. I can tell you, I honestly believe that all lives matter. But for some reason, in that part of the world during the apartheid regime, this color have taken a beating. Let's not forget that. And that's the most important thing.
Definitely.
And this individual is playing in a team with guys, the captain as well, and all the other guys, you know, who would have been part of the team who are of this particular color. And for that to have happened and not knowing exactly why, this is why I'm able to come with my own opinion. You know, to say that for some reason it doesn't look good, in my opinion, especially when your team would have asked you to do something. He lived in South Africa. His parents would have lived in South Africa. I guess he would not have seen most of the things that would have happened over the years because of the changes that would have happened during his particular time. But he has parents. He would have been to schools where he would have had all the prejudice and stuff going on, where individuals of this color couldn't attend the same school as he, and stuff like that. Could not drink from the same tap in the park. And I just felt he was a little insensitive until he comes with a reason. This is my opinion. It was just utter idiotic for someone to do such a thing, especially at a time like this. In America, what we would have seen, folks being totally brutalized. And I'm very passionate about this because I have come on the scrutiny as a black man with racism and stuff like that. And I have always felt that I'm as good as anyone. And Our
You are the
brothers,
best.
You know,
You are the
I felt
best.
as good as anyone. I'm in that same category. Nothing separates us.
Above all of us.
Because at the end, no, because at the end of the day, we bleed and we die.
Yeah.
And at a time where we are in such troubled times, COVID and all that stuff, COVID is not a racist.
Yeah.
COVID affects everybody.
Yeah.
And at this particular time, we should be showing a little bit more love and compassion.
Absolutely wonderful stuff.
Well done.
So, Sana, you have something to say on this?
What can I add after that? I think the only thing I would say that yes, compassion is the most important quality, and before we judge, it's very important that we remain compassionate.
Yeah. And secondly, as a Pakistan team, we do not kneel down for certain reasons, but we always put our hand on the heart. So showing solidarity with, like the narrative is very well accepted in our part of the world as
thing
well,
is with
because we are
yeah.
also one of the colored races.
With athletes, it's very important to educate them. I'm not talking about Quinton de Kock, but talking about our own team, of what it stands for, why is the gesture there. So it's very important that we have that awareness and education.
Shoaib, you want to add something? आप कुछ कहना चाहोगे इसमें?
नहीं, आपने सब ने बड़ा comprehensively said it all, everything, and said it all.
उन्होंने ये नहीं आपको बताया कि blank check आया था South Africa से.
I asked him about the money, but he didn't tell me.
It was actually, I was asked to go to South Africa on a rebel tour.
Yes.
And there were still sanctions against that country.
Yes.
Because of its ways during the apartheid regime and its governance and all that stuff. And I just felt at the time that I'm filled with too much pride. I cannot go to a country to become an honorary white when I love my color so dearly.
Wow.
That time was an extraordinary time.
Yes.
Because at the time that the rebel tours were being, the England sent 2 teams. The second one under Mike Gatting lasted days, because it was right at the time that things were changing finally for the good, and that the search for equality in that society was starting. The change of government was nigh, Mandela was around the corner, so the whole thing was changing very, very rapidly. And I think from our point of view in England, we'd been part of the sanction imposing regime, and the rest of the world had joined in. South Africa had been exiled for what, 25, 30 years?
Yes.
And when the change came, it was long overdue. And I think people, even sportsmen who wanted to play there, and they thought, there was an excuse. They thought maybe if we go and play there, it will help the system change, which was naive. I mean, that was missing a very big point. But you can understand sometimes how people come to these conclusions. So finally, the penny dropped. Finally, people realised there is a better way. Even South Africa realised it's a better way. So this is why I can understand Cricket South Africa taking this so very seriously.
Yeah.
Because they are representing, and they're also controlled by their country.
Yeah.
The politics of the board is linked to the
With
politics of the country. So I mean, it's a very, very important matter for them. But they do need to speak to Quinton, and Quinton needs to speak in general terms to make his position clear.
Fair enough.
It can't be an honest mistake. It just abruptly something uncalled for what he just did.
But again,
I'm not talking about you. So
should I move to Akhtar?
I think यार इसका response आना बहुत ज़रूरी है. अब response में उसकी कोई भी ऐसी justification नहीं है जो justify करे what he has done. I'll be very honest with you.
Again, वही वाली बात, the way David said that we have to first get into the exact sequence of events, that whether it was based on racism.
But Nauman, my other question is to you and to the rest of the panel is that you've signed a contract with the board. You're a signatory.
Yeah. So
and you're going to do as the team is going to do. Very simple, that's right?
Yeah.
So what triggered you? That is a very dangerous point that I'm making. What triggered you?
Yeah. You're right. जी आके भाई इसमें क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
What triggered you?
Yeah. I told you they are bad boys. I told you they are bad boys.
This is the best way through.
ये हमें वैसे ही अपनी तंजीम से निकाल देते हैं कि हमें भी काला काला बोल बोल के मुझे और तुम्हें खास
as we've said, in this particular time, we need to bring best love, best of
unity,
you, patience, love, tolerance, smile on the face, respecting others.
Yes.
That's the only thing other want from you, isn't it? So I think जो भी लोग हैं उनको इसमें यही सोचना है और यही करना है कि लोगों को आपका बेस्ट चाहिए. Keep it the worst within you.
That's very well said. जी राशिद भाई.
सर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू होना चाहिए, पहले सुन लें उनको. क्विंटन डिकॉक क्या हुआ क्या है, हो सकता है कोई अच्छा सजेशन हो. रोजाना न्यूज़ पे जाना हो सकता है बुरा लग रहा हो किसी को. मैं बिल्कुल ऑनेस्टली बता रहा हूँ, मैच से पहले एक दफ़ा कर लो. इसको इतना ज़्यादा इन क्यों किया जा रहा है? फुटबॉल में भी सेम चीज़ हुई थी, कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा था, लेकिन तमाशाई ने किसी ने बोल दिया तो एक कंट्रोवर्सी बन गई. जिसको क्रिकेट में भी लेके आया जाए. क्रिकेट में कभी भी नहीं हुआ ऐसा. हमने जितनी क्रिकेट खेली है, मैंने भी ऐसे ही मजाक में बोल देता हूँ, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं था. लेकिन अब बहुत ज़्यादा आईसीसी इन्वॉल्व हो रही है इसमें. इसको आग लगाना चाह रही है कि किसी तरह भड़के ये, और आज का दिन था शायद भड़काने का पहला दिन.
Let's keep our fingers crossed कि ऐसा ना हो, and there should be, because Rashid thinks that they may be like ICC may well have played a better role to control it rather than to like make it very conspicuous and obvious. So that's what his
one individual's
it is an individual act, and
This is one
we are still waiting for the response. This is what he said, that first we need to know the response, and then
That is why we're here speculating.
Exactly. जी अदर भाई.
आई थिंक सब कुछ तो बोल दिया है. आई थिंक हमें वेट करना पड़ेगा डिकॉक की स्टेटमेंट का कि व्हाट ही वांट टू से. और दूसरा चीज़ ये है कि इस तरह का मसला है, तो जैसे सबने कहा कि पेंडेमिक का टाइम है, और वी ऑल नीड लव फ्रॉम ईच अदर, वी ऑल नीड टू रिस्पेक्ट ईच अदर. हमें एक दूसरे की रिस्पेक्ट करनी पड़ेगी. सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अदर पर्सन. आई थिंक अगर हम इस चीज़ को देखेंगे तो काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें बेहतर हो जाएंगी.
Yeah, and by the way, mental health issues during the last 2 years because of this pandemic, they have grown by 43%. So these are the times when we should like.
I spoke about this in the show before, but like we never know. It's a mental health issues or whatever. We need to wait and see what he wants to say.
जी उमर.
आई थिंक वही सॉलिड एविडेंस तो है ही नहीं, वेट करना जो उसके जो भी है. लेकिन बीइंग अ मुस्लिम, हमारे मज़हब में तो ये चीज़ है ना कि कोई भेदभाव नहीं है, एक दूसरे से सारे बराबर ही हैं, और हम इस चीज़ पे बिलीव भी करते हैं. तो आई थिंक जो उसने, अगर वो टीम की बात आ रही है तो नथिंग इज़ अबव द टीम. जो टीम की आपकी जो भी रेगुलेशन है उसको फॉलो करना चाहिए. बाकी पर्सनल जो भी इशू है वो आप, जिस तरह डेविड ने कहा कि आप कुछ देर के लिए आपने जो पर्सनल जो भी आपके प्रॉब्लम है, रिजर्वेशन है, वो आप थोड़ी देर के लिए टीम के लिए आप अवॉइड करो, उसके बाद फिर आप चीज़ें कर सकते हो.
Okay, before we take our break, message तो एक strong message. Obviously, all lives matter and every human is equal. But let's see, today New Zealanders they really suffered, and let's see the following. This was the first one.
I'm a fan of this rough, especially for the lower Colonels. I was seeing him a fair bit.
Yeah.
This
was
it's a class
Mitchell.
act.
Darryl Mitchell going. Today Ahmad Wasim bowled 11 dot balls. Harris 10.
That was good.
That was a game changer.
Critical,
Yes.
Slow.
Devon Conway, he was going in like he was firing.
Because on these pitches, slow ball grips a bit, so it's more effective on these pitches. Another slow one.
Smart. Smart. Energetic, smart.
That was it. And now we take a short break and we'll be right back with Game On Hai.